Lately, I've been rediscovering my love of Minecraft, and I think what I've learned will help you love your worlds, and mine, even more in the future. I know a lot of people are feeling burnt out with the game, and a lot of videos have popped up lately saying Minecraft isn't much fun anymore, or they're burnt out or quitting Minecraft. They try and explain why the game isn't what it used to be. I think I've figured out the secret to enjoying the game, at least for me, and I'd like to share that today as we go about building the largest build I've done for our Asian city. I'm going to start today out at the Perimeter project, however. If you don't know, this project is a 528 by 528 hole that we're blasting in the world. Redstone's very important in my world, and it became much harder to get with the raid farm nerfs introduced in 1.21. And while raid farms were nerfed, witch farms were buffed and rates are now viable. This perimeter will hold a double witch farm, getting us nearly 3 times the redstone per hour as our old raid farm, so I'll call that a win. The perimeter will also be large enough to hold a lot of other big projects, but before it's done, we're going to need to clear these 4 side trenches. I started this last episode and hoped to finish it, but then we ran into several issues, like these water caves, and blowing the machine up like 4 times, but let's not talk about that part. While the trenches run, I clear ores and drain water. Sponging in these trenches is actually part of my answer to loving Minecraft again. If you were here for the start of this project, I said I was going to spam sponges, even though I know it's not the most perfect or efficient method of clearing them. I'm aware most good players would section it off in small batches, put sponges, then 2 or 3 moss, another sponge, over and over until it's clear. And I do that sometimes, but sometimes I just spam them everywhere like my life depends on it. Do you remember what I said when I spammed them for the first time? Let me have fun. Somewhere along the way, really good players stopped having fun because they stopped having fun. Let me say that another way. People who know the most efficient, best, fastest, and most optimal route find it difficult to see any other way. It's hard to convince them they're wrong because they're not. Their way is the most optimal and efficient. And at first, being hyper efficient is really fun. My old cobblestone farm was okay, but my new one is 12 times faster, so watching the fast one is fun. But you can optimize too much. It's one of the reasons I think new viewers have a hard time getting into this world that I'm building, actually. We went so hard at the start that if you haven't watched every single video, know every bit of lore, and understand how every single machine works, it's easier to sometimes just stop watching and go watch someone build a giant furnace for their 10 furnace super smelter. Yeah, their smelter's probably pretty meh in use, but their video's understandable to far more players. And I'm the worst offender when it comes to bigger and faster is better meta. I love to tell people what farms are the best. I love to show you how to optimize, and I'm very proud of what I got done in this world after 1,000 and 2,000 days, because I don't think anyone's ever had a more optimized hardcore world for the time spent. And that's a nice weird flex but okay moment until it sucks the fun out of everything. So step 1 of me fixing the problem is admitting that I have one. If you think that sounds a bit like a 12-step program, I think that's actually a really good analogy. So hyper-efficient is the problem for some of us, but clearly not everyone. What about those who play for a couple of weeks a year and then meme? Well, they see what we can do, decide not to learn it, and feel like there's nothing new to do. They don't miss 1.5 Minecraft. They miss being young with no responsibilities except building a diamond and gold block house. Yes, trenching gave me a lot of time to think. For now, let's keep playing. I'll come back to this in a bit. Collecting the resources from each trench is a bit like a scavenger hunt. Each trench has been different, and what we find with them is always a bit unique. In one, we opened up a very large cave and mined diamonds from it. In another, we stumbled upon a trial chamber in the wild. Geodes are almost common at this point. Some have large caves and some have mine shafts, while some have both. And the first one had 5 separate mob spawners, while the last 3 ended up having a grand total of 2 combined. I mined up every diamond I can find, lots of the ore, especially in the trench itself, and amused myself with a bit of extra exploration and sponge ASMR whenever I can. Last time I had a lot of problems in these trenches, but this time I was ready for it all. This is how the rest of trenches 2, 3, and 4 went. And this is how the perimeter looks from way above with all 4 trenches now finished. And I've collected an incredible amount of resources. Let's lay them out back at home and take a look at what I brought back. Almost 20 stacks of lapis ore, a shulker of diamond ore including 29 of the more rare stone diamonds, a shulker of copper ore plus some deep slate copper ore, and what we took out of that trial chamber that we blew a hole through. The loot included 2 new trims, 7 more keys, and the last music disc that I was missing. We also brought back 2/3 of a shulker of deep slate iron ore, a full shulker of coal ore, or 2, or 3, or 4, a full shulker of deep slate gold, nearly a full shulker of redstone ore, another full shulker of iron ore and stone this time, and 2 more full shulkers of stone copper ore. And while I was away for so long, I used a bunch of our bottles of enchanting to repair gear, so I did some villager trading and refilled that box as best I could. Today's build is going to be our first in the military district, and it's going to be a bit of a planning center, or a strategic hub for our armies. This should be a very important and central piece of the city, as the military's power needs to be obvious and literally towering over most of the rest of the city. I'm going to build a 9-story octagonal pagoda with sweeping roofs on top of a very heavy stone brick base. The build is modeled very closely after the Chin Swee Caves Temple, a Buddhist temple built in 1994, which is dedicated to a Chinese Buddhist monk from the 9th century. And now you know. Yup, that happens sometimes. I'm ready, are you ready? Let's get started on the build now. I've cleared a space for the pagoda in the military district opposite our main base and waterfall. I'm not going to worry too much about the land itself today because as the city grows I want room to get between buildings, fill in the details after the builds, and have room to push right up against this if I need to. These 14 shulkers hold the materials for the build and they're absolutely full. I'm keeping the same color palette as we normally use with the red, white, and black, and the dark oak. I've chosen this spot along the river because of the way the height of the build will make the city feel more cohesive and stable. I know that's not really the right word, but solid just feels clunky. The city will be more connected by having a very large central point, especially near and overlooking the city hub. It closes in the views from around each edge and just looks really great here, and it'll feel exactly as imposing as I mean to when you enter the city for the first time. The reference building has these beautiful blue window details and a fancy patterned opening. I obviously can't reproduce this exactly in Minecraft, so I've chosen to include warped wood windows and a glazed terracotta above here. Inside the ground floor, we're already starting to build out some of the map walls, cartography stations, reference books and storages, as well as the main viewing platform. And this quartz wall will be the backdrop to a very large map, one that will include the entire overworld portion of our hardcore world so far. The side maps will then show the entire Mushroom Island as well as some new territories that we'd like to explore further for long-term builds. In total, there will be more than 100 map pieces in this one room. Also, I'm going to need a glow squid farm soon. After making 100 glow item frames, I'm pretty poor on glow squid ink and I had to gather more just to complete the wall. Okay, let's take a look at this. That is one chonky boy. The roofs were such a pain. I've been enjoying expanding my ability to build them throughout the whole city, but these octagonal swooping roofs were by far the hardest I've done, and I think both these and the top came out super stunning. I'm just finishing a few of the details on this build, and as I do, I thought I'd finish the conversation from earlier about enjoying Minecraft. When was the last time you made a proper map wall? If you like playing this game, I bet the first time you opened a map, right-clicked it, and took a look at your work from above, you really loved seeing it. I've never heard anyone say anything bad about this process. They open it, they say, oh wow, that's cool, or look how great that looks. And they inevitably put the map away, maybe lose it, put it in a single item frame on the wall, and never think about mapping again. Most people don't even understand how the cartography table fully works. Did you know that you can expand the size of maps to fit a much larger area? You probably did. A map can be anywhere between 128 by 128 blocks and 2048 by 2048 blocks, which is 16 times larger in each direction. Did you know that you could lock a map so it can't be changed, or you can keep it open so you can update it? Maybe. Did you know that you can clone a map, make an exact copy, lock that one, and then change the original? Maybe you did, but if I asked you to do that right now, could you? And last one, did you know that in Java Edition you can place down a banner in the world and see those on the map, and if the banner has a name, that name will show on the map. There are so many little and fun things in Minecraft that get lost as we get better and better at the game. Is a map game-changing? No. There's no map wall per hour, so we ignore it. But maybe not everything has to be game-changing, game-breaking, OP, heavily optimized, or efficient. Maybe what we've lost in the game is the ability to just enjoy a map because it kinda looks cool, and it makes you say wow the first time you see your base on one. Like this one. Every map here is the furthest zoomed in, only 128 by 128 blocks. It shows our entire home city, as well as the nearby pillager mansion, and even a corner of the Mushroom Island. I've made a more complete map of the Mushroom Island and all of our farms back here on this other wall, and some extra territory to explore over on this one here. There's even room to expand if I want to do another whole row of maps above this one. I love how the pagoda looks at our city now. It's a towering, imposing structure that gives our defense a great view of the surroundings, and it stands proudly at the city center with an accessible map for anyone who's interested. The upper floors will eventually be decorated with extra rooms, more details that support its purpose, and so on, but for now I'm just really happy I took on this project. The glow frames were a bit of a pain to get, but they look great when lighting up the map and showing the details. My plan is to add our coordinates for different things into the books that sit on the lecterns as we update our world. I've left all the maps unlocked so they can grow with us as the city keeps expanding, but maybe I should lock a copy for history. This was a lot of fun. It was a good reminder that not every project we do has to be OP or useful. In fact, doing silly and out of the ordinary work lately has kept me really interested in growing the world further. The aesthetic build of the harbor and gate and this tower have reminded me how to have fun in Minecraft, a reminder that was long overdue to be honest. As this map came together, I did say, wow, that's cool, more than a few times. Seeing our starter home, the floating island, the front gate area, arena, dock area, ships, city hub, our temples, and sentry towers all around it, made me feel like I've done something in this world that I'm proud of, and I'm happy with. I'm going to continue with the unnecessary, silly projects next time when we dismantle an entire trial chamber to build a roller coaster. I said what I said. I'll see you then. Goodbye.